What is going on? You are listening to TAGSPodcast, the original Talk About Gay Sex podcast. I'm your host, Steve V, and this is episode 331 when we record this on Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. Alongside Lincoln. How you doing, Lincoln?
Happy New Year. It's good to be back. Doing great.
Happy New Year. Welcome back. Absolutely. We got a lot to talk to you about in just a sec. Joining us, of course, Cody Maurice Dolget. How are you?
Hello, darlings. Happy MLK Day. I'm wonderful. How are you doing?
Really good. And on that MLK note, I couldn't help but take this quote that I heard today that I think we can all benefit. Me personally, when I heard this, I was like, was that meant for me? Quote, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. Whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. Martin Luther King Jr.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
first
is
of all,
for you.
when I that's so for me. I
Total crawl.
Total crawl these days. I think you guys all heard out there. I broke my ankle. This is 1 week out, and my surgeon says I'm doing remarkable, and I feel great. No pain meds, no nothing. So all good in the hood. And yeah. And so when I heard that, but that can apply to so many of us.
I do think it is a little bit more of a metaphor than an actual
yes,
thief
absolutely.
trying to get milk in the middle of the night. But we can go with whatever you do.
No, but moving forward, definitely with everything. I think I quoted on the show that I'm turning. Biden had said this quote, and he was quoting somebody else: "Turn an obstacle into an opportunity." My friend Sebastian Lacaze said, use this time. Nothing ever happens without, a reason, and use this as an opportunity. And I am so many things as we about to celebrate 5 years of Tags podcast coming up February 2022 here.
Nice.
And you'll see some of those rollouts where I am going to be taking an obstacle and turning it into an opportunity.
Wonderful.
Nice.
Yeah. And on that note, we haven't talked to you in a minute, Lincoln.
I know.
Something major happened to you that I'm so excited. You got engaged to Peter.
I did.
Do tell.
So around, when was it? It was before Thanksgiving. So around the end of October, I started thinking about Christmas gifts and life and everything as we move forward, and it struck me that I thought it would be a great idea to ask Peter to marry me on Christmas.
Wow.
It would celebrate
I know you and I are like
so it would celebrate 3 years and 5 days since our first date. And I'm really big on the threes, and I'm really big on listening to what's in front of me and going with it. Three is a huge number. I think I've gotten into that before on this show, but I love the 3. And, it's been a year since my mom passed, so I wasn't making any big decisions in that first year. And the year before my mom passed, I didn't want to rush something like that or try to have that be part of it. You know what I mean? So
right, you were mourning.
And I actually, when I first went and saw my mom right in April, as the pandemic was hitting the hardest, and she got home from the hospital and she was her most lucid, her and I actually talked about Peter and I getting married. And she was like, I'm going to be here for the wedding, and I'm going to do everything you tell me to, Stephen. And, so I knew I had her blessing, and I just felt it was the right time. So I started thinking, how do I want to do this? And I after many things being thrown in the air, this was my plan. So, nesting boxes, the box inside the box, inside the box, inside. Okay. I have had a set of nesting boxes that are very cool, graphic, colored, 6 boxes that I've had forever and ever and ever. And they were given to me as a gift by my first graphic designer for the bakery. And I love them. So my plan was, I put a box inside of a box, and on Christmas morning, when he opened that box, it was a bunch of little fortune cookie papers, bigger, but same idea, all black and white, and it said, rub me down, massage table for California. So
Ooh.
the first gift was a brand new massage table for California because we have the room there. We could give each other a massage. Peter's really good at giving a massage. And we always say we need a table. So Merry Christmas. We got a massage table for California.
Hey,
Nice.
okay. That you could have stopped there.
I
and
could have
it would
stopped there.
been- I married.
I would have been
So,
happy.
so then, oh, get ready. So then there was a box inside of a box, and he opened that one up, and it was, again, Pretzel is here and on full alert today.
Perfect.
That was all these little pieces of paper, white paper, black letters that said XXX, XXX, dirty, filthy,
Ooh.
shopping
Ooh.
spree at Mr. S in San Francisco.
Yes.
So that was the second gift. And
So he knows he's going to San Francisco.
so to do a shopping spree and the massage table. And then oh my God, I'm very emotional. That's so funny. I wrapped
Aw.
I think you guys might have seen it on something, but the photo of Peter and I at the Toys party, the Toys
Yes,
for
where you
Tots
got
party.
COVID.
I did not get COVID. Other
Oh,
people
you didn't get
no.
COVID. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, other people got
Wow,
COVID.
I still don't have COVID, babe.
Okay, good. All right.
Careful with
all
that.
right.
When I do, I'll let everyone know, but that's and I'm not going to. Anyway, where a lot of people got COVID, and I didn't plan that picture. When I saw that picture, I was like, this will be perfect. So I got a paper copy of the picture from Toys for Tots, put it in a white frame, wrapped it in a white box with white paper and a white ribbon with a white gift tag that said, Merry Christmas, my boys, love Gloria.
Oh,
So there was a gift to
wow.
You are
Peter
just melting
and
hearts.
thanks.
Melting
Peter and
hearts
I
over
from
there.
my mom, and he didn't know that would like symbolize our engagement picture, but that's kind of like her blessing. So that was
Oh.
Christmas morning. Now, just a little caveat to this: when Peter and I landed in California, he had the worst headache ever.
Okay.
And it was the kind of headache that just flattened him. And we
Oh.
deduced that it was probably a sinus infection. So we were on the phone a lot with the doctor. He did not know I was asking him to marry me. What do you do? Cancel the engagement because of a headache? No.
Well,
But then we got him
well,
antibiotics. Peter's a trooper. So Peter's like, I'm fine. Don't worry. I'm fine. I need to go lay down. I'm fine. I need to go lay down. So then we got him antibiotics, which kind of upset his stomach. And so he wasn't doing great. And I was just like, Peter, we just need to get through Christmas. Because all I told him was, we're going into the city to go to my family's for Christmas. It's the first time I've gone in 3 years. It was something my mom always did every Christmas. And on our way, we're going to snap a picture at the Golden Gate Bridge. That was all he knew. And I'm like, you
Okay.
could sleep in the car.
And he's so focused on the headache, like,
yeah,
go away,
he's
go away.
half awake, and he's like, his head
No
is really
clue at
pounding.
all.
No clue at all.
Right.
So my cousin Paula came to the house in Walnut Creek. She sat in the back seat. I did not tell anyone about this except for one person in California, my really good friend Marty, and she's amazing. She's like my mom in California. And then Paula, because I needed someone to do photos and videotape me doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So Paula got in the back seat. We drove to the Golden Gate Bridge, and we're driving. Peter's like in and out in the passenger seat, and I'm like, well, it's not raining that hard. It's literally pouring.
Oh,
And then
no.
it's clear as day. And then it's pouring. And then
Oh
it's
my
clear as day.
goodness.
So we're driving, and as we're going over the Golden Gate Bridge, I'm like, see? There's some people out here, and it started pouring. And he's like, yeah, and they're running for their lives, Stephen. And right as I hit the peak of the Golden Gate Bridge, which, by the way, side note, the reason I wanted to do the Golden Gate Bridge is my father was a mechanical engineer at U.S. Steel, where my mom was a paralegal, and that's where they met. My grandfather was the head of maintenance at U.S. Steel. His father was an engineer at U.S. Steel, and his father's father worked at U.S. Steel, and they made the steel that held up the original Golden Gate Bridge.
Oh my God!
So,
history.
and we have pieces of the Golden Gate Bridge in the house in Walnut Creek. Like the U.S. Steel and the Golden Gate Bridge are big. So that's why I wanted to do it in the middle of there. And so as we're going over the top and it's pouring down rain, I see the Palace of Fine Arts. And it is like this beautiful little bouquet of architecture with a little ray of light like shining on it while we're like in the middle of like rain. And I said, we'll do the
just
picture.
had 2 Madonna songs in there. You
yes,
that.
I did.
I should have known that was coming.
I just had to clock that.
I believe.
Thanks. It happens without me even thinking it. So
I mean, you can't help yourself, but I love it.
So I said, let's cherish the moment. And I'm kidding. So I drove straight to the Palace of Fine Arts, which is, I mean, I saw Marianne Williamson do lectures there when I lived in San Francisco. It's very beautiful. I love it a lot. We drove straight to a parking spot. We didn't have to look for one. We got out of the car. We went to the center dome. What? And guess what? As we got out, the rain started to stop. And as we walked to the dome, it was really cold. We were in the dome. I pulled out a nesting box, and inside of the last box were all of these color pieces of paper. I finally introduced color into what I was doing. And in the middle of it was this 1-inch high, 6-foot long ticker tape in black and white. And I said, just read it. And he slowly unrolled it, and it said, "You are the man of my dreams. I never thought I would ever find someone who loves me as unconditionally as you do. Let's build bridges together and with the rest of the world for endless love for the rest of our lives together. Never stop looking into my eyes." And when he looked in my eyes, I got down on one knee and asked him to marry me. And
I'm getting teary-eyed myself here.
Thanks.
Wow.
And he said yes. And then I stood up and I had my father's wedding ring and my grandfather's ring. And those are the rings that we're using as our engagement rings.
Wow.
So we have history on us. And then we got back in the car, and Marianne Williamson FaceTimed us and congratulated us and asked if she could do the ceremony.
Oh my God.
And then we got in the car and I said, okay, we're going to go to the cemetery and I'm going to tell my grandparents and everyone there that I'm engaged. And we went to it's very Italian. We went to the Italian cemetery, which by the way was like,
cue the music,
right? Which was a mile from our Christmas dinner. Cause my cousin lives like out in Daly City, right by the Italian cemetery. So we drove to the Italian cemetery and with Paula, my cousin, who also hadn't been there in forever. And we were like, Merry Christmas. I'm like, Noni, Nono, look, I'm engaged. And you know, we just stood there for a minute. And then I went, well, you know, my mom's ashes need to go in here. And when we take care of that, maybe we could do our ashes in here as well. And my cousin went, did you really go from like engagement to cremation in like an hour?
Oh my goodness.
Apparently I did. Never mind.
It's only Lincoln could do. Right.
Only I could do. Stone unturned.
No stone. We're always planning. I was a Boy Scout. So then we went to Christmas dinner, which will now, from here on out, Christmas will be the day we got engaged. Christmas dinner will always be partially our engagement dinner. And what the crazy thing, you know, he felt better. We extended our trip so we could celebrate our engagement a little bit more. And then when I was telling my dad and his wife, Margaret, the story, I was in the middle of the story. My dad went, Stephen, you know, you're forgetting something. And I went, what are you talking about? He said, my father, Fred, my father's father, my grandfather, right? The center of the Golden Gate Bridge is where he requested his ashes be thrown.
Oh my God.
So it was like the other side of the family had that moment too. So when we go back to California the next time, we're going to go to the Golden Gate. Hopefully it'll be a beautiful day, take a bunch of pictures and just kind of celebrate the bridge. And now the Palace of Fine Arts in Muir Woods and the Golden Gate, all that has like, we get to investigate that and check it out and relax there and have fun there as our engagement place. So very exciting.
So amazing. That's
beautiful story.
Feels really good too. Thanks.
When I get married,
congratulations.
if I ever get married, I need your help to plan out everything. So
I'm good for stuff like that.
That
you got me, Cody. Don't worry.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations.
Thanks.
And, you know, thanks for bringing those pictures to life on what really went on because I'm so excited and I love you both. So I'm just really excited for it all. So that's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Steve.
All right. Well, let's get into some hot topics here. And here we are again as COVID is on the rise. And can a gay cruise keep 5,500 people safe amid COVID? I feel like we had this discussion like in 2020, and here we are again. But, Atlantis Cruise is celebrating their 30th anniversary. And by doing that, they're chartering up a 5,500 person Caribbean cruise, marking the company's 30th anniversary. They insist that its vaccination mandate, testing requirements, and health protocols are enough to provide a safe environment for guests throughout the voyage. Many passengers are convinced. Listen to what this one German guy said when asked about this. He said, "It's time to start living our lives again, and vaccine and tests allow us to do that. This isn't COVID 2020, says Andre Mayer, a graphic designer from Germany, who paid more than $4,000 for the week-long cruise on board Royal Caribbean's Oasis of the Seas. Quote, "This is going to be the wildest party for our community in 2 years. I'm talking dirty dancing, sex, drugs, raves, orgies, and sweet, sweet freedom." Okay, Andre. Yeah. So they are setting sail. Oh, and the other thing that the article went on to say was, given Atlantis's policy that they're apparently not changing, is a 2-month rule where you cannot cancel your trip if it's more than 2 months before the trip.
Mhm.
Where it got me thinking a little bit, because I was supposed to, from my holiday travels, go on to Palm Springs and enjoy the New Year's. Well, when
Uh-huh.
my ankle occurred, I said, "Oh, no, I got to cancel that and get back to New York." Well, I was so surprised, but to learn that all airlines right now, if you cancel your flight, you don't get charged, no penalties.
Correct.
So they just
Yeah.
went into a bank, which I fly Alaska, and I'll just use it another time.
Right.
Good.
Atlantis, on the other hand, is not doing that. And so, yeah, right. And it
Not for
also got
you.
me thinking, no. And I thought, I get it. They have protocol and all that. But with all that we know about this virus, and I also got to thinking too that I've been on these cruises, many
Mhm.
of they've got a wide, varied age group of passengers that come on there. They're not all young that could get over the coronavirus. Many are 60 plus, and many probably bought this when we had no Omicron
Yeah.
in the air, and many are immunocompromised.
Yep.
Many of those are undetectable but HIV
Mhm.
positive. I don't know. Well, yes, I wish them well, but what's your thoughts on this, Cody? And
Look,
is this a good idea? Because we don't want to poo-poo on their vacation,
yes,
but
I don't. I really want to say, oh, it'll be fine. It's time for us to start living our lives again. But for me, I've never been on one of these cruises, but for me, it just screams of irresponsibility. I feel like, yes, we should be living our lives. But we should also be wise in the decisions that we make in living our lives. I can't imagine being in an enclosed space with 5,000 people on a ship during the height of a pandemic. COVID is not over yet. It just doesn't scream wise decision makings to me. It gives me very much not the Love Boat. What is the opposite of the Love Boat? Because that's what this is. Because this is crazy to
yeah,
me. Isaac is not on there.
yeah. And they planned all this stuff way ahead of time at Lincoln, and without knowing Omicron was around.
Sure.
But what's your thoughts on this? Do you think that they should give some of their passengers an out if they wanted it?
Well, I think they should definitely give them an out, hands
Mhm.
down. I don't know the difference between the Atlantis cruise and the Vakaya cruise, but the Vakaya cruise just got back. They passed each other in the night. Actually, my good friend Corey Craig said, "If you see lasers, let me know," because the ships apparently crossed. I don't think you could actually see each other's ship. Who knows?
Right.
But I don't know if Vakaya would give it back or not. Some of the feedback that I read online, because I have done a Vakaya cruise for my 50th, Steve, you and I did that together.
Yeah, we did.
Was some people they quarantined people to certain floors of the ship if they tested positive for corona. One guy got quarantined to those floors, but even though he didn't test positive for corona, he was really sick. So they said, even though you're not testing positive, we still want you to be quarantined. Apparently they brought those people endless food, endless drink, endless entertainment, whatever that looked like. The stuff I saw on, I'm sure, a very heavily edited cruise posting area. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I like, so that there's that. I got a full refund. I actually sold it to someone for my room at MAL. Mid-Atlantic
right.
Leather was this
Which-
past weekend.
Correct.
And I go every year from Thursday to Monday, and I was looking forward to showing off Peter, and we would have been engaged. Yay. But I have to say, 2 weeks before MAL, half of the people I know at MAL are from Berlin or Australia or San Francisco or Chicago, and I'm not going to have fun there.
Yeah.
Like, we went to Battleham on the 4th of July last year, and we had a great time. And a week later, 10 people had COVID, and that sinking feeling in your stomach of, oh my God, what did we do? Toys for Tots, which you guys mentioned before. We went on that. I had the best time at Toys for Tots this year. I saw people I haven't seen forever. And 2 days later, when Whoopi Goldberg was off The View saying that she was around people who were near COVID, and I got the email saying that COVID was rampant, and then I talked to my doctor, and he said over 50 of his patients got COVID from Toys for Tots. That is a horrible, horrible feeling.
Yeah.
So you can live your best life and do everything. I hate that phrase at this point, but
I know
that you think you want to do. I don't like that after feeling. So I am going to choose not to do it.
Yeah, and I guess some of these guys, maybe if they're lucky, they could sell it like you did yours if you were on this.
Yeah, I don't know if they could sell their room. Maybe that's a and if they allow people to do that, great.
Yeah, and a friend of mine was telling me on a straight cruise, a regular cruise that he went on, that he was quarantined on a recent cruise, and he ended up being thought, well, it's fine, I'll just be in my room. They didn't put him; they put him in a not deluxe room, and food was not like you just described it, plentiful, and drinks. It was pretty basic and bare minimum. I would want to hopefully know what your protocol in the event of, hopefully part of what Atlantis is saying that we're prepared is dealing with those questions if we do get. And I would imagine if you're going on excursions, which, I would opt, if this isn't Europe they're going to the Caribbean, and it seems like a party on the boat. So hopefully most people are probably just going to stay aboard. But I would imagine they're going to do testing if you want to go on an excursion, testing to come back. And so they're going to take those precautions, and we'll see. I mean,
yeah,
again,
but like you said, though, in the beginning, remember in 2020 when the pandemic was fresh and new and everybody went to the white party, and then slowly but surely, one case after the other came back. And I feel like that's what this is. It's looking very similar to that instance. I'm foreseeing, I don't know if I can see the future. I don't know if I turned into a medium all of a sudden, but that's what it's looking like it's going to be from this cruise. And it's really scary to me. So,
yeah, well, we wish them well, and I'm sure we'll have more reports on this because it's just one of those stories that it's just going to pop up.
Can I just say one thing? I hope that they all have the time that they wanted. I hope that any other people that plan travel have the time that they want. I hope no one gets COVID. If it ends up being a super spreader thing, there's no reason to throw them all under a bus for going.
Or a ship.
Or a ship. It is what it is. People are making their choices. We have people right now, Peter and I were just talking, going into his boutique today from Florida, no mask, wanting to buy shoes, like there is nothing going on. So we all have our bubble.
From Florida.
Well, but in Florida, there is no virus. And you can blame Florida. You can blame the media. You can blame the mentality. You can blame our former president. You can blame anyone you want. It's still the world we live in.
Yeah.
Like right now, I am taking, the reason we're able to do this a little earlier tonight is I am taking a hiatus from teaching. A lot of the professionals in the fitness industry that do group fit right now, if they can afford it, they're taking a hiatus because our rates in this city right now are really high. But I saw in the news tonight that they've dropped about 12%. That's big. By February 1st, New York City is going to be a place you can come to and enjoy again, but Middle America or the West Coast might have another scenario. We just have to be smart and educated, and I hope people are doing their best, and I wish them well. I hope no one really gets sick, because that's really not the point of this.
We all
True.
wish that
I
here at
agree.
Tags,
Yeah.
absolutely. Moving on, over the holiday, something big happened in December. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration approved Apretude, which is an extended release formulation of cabotegravir, and that's an injectable PrEP for HIV pre-exposure. And it's so funny because when we started this show, as we are about to celebrate 5 years, Jeremy Ross Lopez and I, our co-hosts, we're talking to a doctor at Columbia University way back when in our first year, and she was talking about an injectable PrEP on the early stages of just the development of this. And to be 5 years out here, and it's actually this year in the US, injectable PrEP is here. You will get 2 shots a month, I believe, is how it will be administered. And I think it's going to be such a game changer for so many people for a lot of different reasons. Um, what's your thoughts on this, Cody, on the 2 trials that happened, and how do you think will be a game changer?
Oh, for sure. And it's definitely something I want to look into. I think it's amazing. I think that it's going to be so much easy. Anything that makes it easier for people to protect themselves is a benefit, is a win in my book. And now all we need is a vaccine, or even yet, better yet, a cure for HIV. I think that that's the next step in this. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's funny, Lincoln, because I know in the past we've talked about a daily pill, and I said, "Oh yeah, this." I remember saying this, and your response, I said, "Yeah, sometimes I got to remember to take that pill." And you said, "How do you not remember? You put yours all out in a very organized way." But for someone like me, I think this will be somewhat of a game changer. What are your thoughts on injectable PrEP on rolling out this year?
I think it's great. I believe in a vaccine for COVID. I believe in PrEP for HIV. It opened up the doors for us to be able to have sexual expression again and not worry like we used to. It took away the death sentence of sex for so many of us. And if there is an injectable that is safe and can do the same thing, great. I'm 100% there. The only thing I'm going to say is I still see things on certain threads on social media about suing the pharmaceutical company for side effects from Truvada, that people who didn't have it work out for them. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like everything else. It's not 100% proof.
Yeah.
You know your body better than anyone else. Like I was saying during the engagement story, I can take any antibiotic at any time, knock on wood. For Peter, antibiotics don't work for him. So
Wow.
as we move forward, some people that are on PrEP, that's really hard on their kidneys and their liver. The injectable might be a lot better for them. So this could be a step up for those people. And in other people, it could affect them differently. So I'm excited about it. I think it's great. Just be careful. Because again, we're trying our best, right?
Nothing's 100%, and
Nothing's 100%.
this story that I will post on TAGSPodcast.com also talks about it's even that much more percentile up of preventing you than the daily pill,
Oh,
which is
wow. That's
really
amazing.
good. There's some other details in here that I'll let listeners kind of sift through on making their own health choices on this matter. But I'm all for it, and I love the progression. I just love that 5 years ago we were talking about studies of this happening, and here we are rolling it out in 2022. Something to cheers to for our sex positivity. So congratulations on that. And before, we've got some advice to give from 2 listeners. I can't wait for that, but I've got one more doozy of a story for you out. And apparently, we all love and talked about on this show how we love outdoor sex. But is gay sex outdoors destroying some of our shorelines? What? That's the title of a brand new MetroSource article. Um, they toot to the benefits or the desire that we all have of having sex on the beach, and I'm not talking about the cocktail, y'all, but apparently there's an unfortunate downside to these uplifting activities. Intrepid beachcombers are blazing a trail of destruction as they chart a course towards sensual gratification, writes Metro Source. So here in the Canary Islands specifically are experiencing the man-made raw effects of random romps on the dunes.
Oh,
According to a report by the British Daily Mail, tourists are trampling delicate shorelands and leaving behind condoms, wipes, and worse.
What?
Quote, there are abundant studies that have addressed the issues of the relationship between tourism and sex tourism, explains a Gran Canaria spokesperson. Quote, but few have analyzed the consequences of these practices on the natural environment, especially when the spaces where these activities take place are protected areas. They go on to say that things were kind of eroding parts. The direct impacts generated around the sex spots can be observed in several ways. How do you ask? Well, impacts on the vegetation, the abandonment of waste, or the presence of urinal and defecation. Ew, well, that's apparently what's going on. Research does indicate that excessive excrement has caused an uncontrolled increase in vegetation in the inner zones, reducing the area occupied by the dunes and increasing the erosion, affecting biodiversity and generating a very negative impact on the animals and plants living in the zone.
Oh, wow.
If this continues, the dune reserve might disappear in less than a generation. Wow,
that's crazy.
I don't know. What are your thoughts on? I mean, people are sloppy, Lincoln, right? When they
Listen, I don't understand garbage. I don't mean it badly, but I don't understand people throwing a coffee cup on the street or a cigarette butt in a gutter or a condom on a dune. Pick up after yourself, people. It is our planet. Right. We all fucking live here. What is wrong with you? And I get really, really angry about it. This is why I don't believe in guns, because I would kill 20 people and be in prison by now. Oh, it's literally that serious to me. Pick up your garbage. Yeah. Pick up your dog shit. Pick up your garbage. If you see a garbage can that's overflowing with garbage, don't balance your fucking coffee cup on the top of it. Find another garbage can. I pick up garbage all the time in New York City. I walk around, I look down, I pick it up, I throw it in a garbage can, I wash my hands. It's not hard. And I believe we have a little bit more problem with our environment because of plastic bottles and cars and everything else than a couple homos fucking on a dune. So I think this is kind of stupid.
Yeah, I mean,
was that a little too harsh?
No, well,
because it's the truth.
The garbage.
It's the truth. Wake up.
The garbage, 100%. I'm so with you. I think my mother would have spanked my bottom like into kingdom come. She used to say, if we even threw a piece of gum out into the. I mean,
and by the way, there are preserved dunes throughout our lands that tourists should not be walking on, should not be camping on, should not be
on. Have sex there.
Well, okay, but it doesn't matter if you walk on it or you have sex on it. You still shouldn't be on the dune. There is that to be said. I'm not saying that we should have the right to go to an area that should not be walked on. It's just like when you go in a museum and they say don't touch the paintings. You don't touch the painting. Like, let alone have sex on the painting.
Yes, that's a great. Read the sign.
Come on, read the sign. Pay attention. Pick up your garbage.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Cody Lincoln has definitely about the garbage for sure. This was a particular study though in a dune area in the Canary Islands, so it was very specific. But specific does lead to reality. The one thing about the defecation and the peeing, I think that really got me because I think you really need to think about the land that you're on and be conscious of that. What are your thoughts on this, Cody?
I just want to know why they're defecating and they're peeing on. Like, that doesn't even make any sense to me. And I agree with Lincoln 100%. People should be cleaning up after themselves. I don't mind. I love having outdoor sex. But if you're going to do it respectfully and do it with the mindset that you want to leave it better than than you came on it with.
Yeah.
And you don't want Greta Thunberg on the gays, okay? She will come for your neck. She does
But-
not play
Okay,
around.
Miss Greta is not playing, and she's very young, so she's about to take. Yeah, we're gonna hear more from her.
It just doesn't make sense to me. But it never the person is not caring about Greta's opinion or anything else that leaves stuff like that behind.
It's true.
Do you know what I mean by
Well,
that?
you know
Like,
what? But
there used to be places in the Bay Area that were like little tea rooms back in the late 80s, early 90s. And I remember whenever I would go to places like that, I would clean up if it was messy. Because if you leave proof, they're going to shut it down.
Yeah.
yeah,
that's
it's
true.
not
It's
unlike
so-
anything.
so
It's unlike not
dumb.
anything else in the world. If you go to the park, for example, here we have Central Park or wherever, there are you pick up after your garbage. I remember going to the nude beach for the first time this past summer in New Jersey, and there.
Sorry,
Salty Pretzel
Pretzel.
agrees.
Peter's home, and I'm sorry. I'll put it on mute. Sorry.
No, I remember going to this nude beach for the first time and knowing that we were like, where's the garbage cans? Like, we brought all, well, they specifically have no garbage cans in sight because whatever you take, you bring back
You
with
take
you.
with
And
you. That's so
and
smart.
those rangers were in full effect. If they saw one thing, and it was the most pristine beach that I've been to really in a long time, and it was a nude beach. So it's or when you go to a sex club, right? There are rules that even your dirtiest fun sex club you have. I'm sure what's the one in next to Berghain, Lincoln?
A laboratory.
Laboratory. There's some rules and regulations that you got to read the fine print.
Yeah.
Obviously, Mother Nature doesn't always have fine print, but there probably will be some that they post outside of the Canary Islands and some of these dunes that pick up after yourself. Don't defecate in there, or pee in the ocean if you can.
Yeah.
I think it's a wake up
is
call.
in
And
living
just
in this world. Like, just by living in the world what you should and what you should not be doing on the beach and what you should be leaving on the beach. Not shit, basically.
Thank you.
I will
Don't
say, though,
shit on it.
across the
Yeah.
board, I've been around for a long, as we all have, but I've been around for a long time. The same thing is happening in gyms, in the steam room. People leave things behind, and that's
Yeah.
why things get shut down. That's why things don't last. Like, if you're trying to do something on the down low and not get caught and have it be in public, well, then don't get caught by leaving your garbage behind, because it's just going to shut it down. Or then there's, like, this is a little off topic, but not at all, because the article came out. That's why there's conversations in management of some gyms that I've worked at in the past that are like,
Yeah.
oh, we need to shut down the steam room, or, why, let's not market to gay people as much. Let's try and I'm like, what is happening for two people getting frisky in a steam room?
Yeah.
These meetings are happening, but of course they are, because people are making a mess. And then
Yeah.
it turns into like they're homophobic. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so twisted. If people just pick up their garbage and are respectful, none of these conversations would go on. You know what I mean?
Well, I love it. And I'm going to follow up after we get to advice on a news story about an exhibit you can watch here in New York that does celebrate by the peers sex in the 70s throughout the 80s. We'll talk about that in a second.
Oh, fun.
But right now we've got to give you some advice as we're running out of time here. But I love it when you guys write in, and we are here to give. The first one actually is this listener, Carlos, wants us to give our take on this. And I want to know what you guys think. What is going on, you guys? I'm a new listener and love the podcast. I wanted to reach out and recommend a topic that I think you guys would find interesting. I was recently on Twitter and discovered that video titled 75 Loads was trending. Turns out even the straights got a hold of this video and were giving out their opinions. The video 75 Loads is from a Twitter user at LA Cumhole, and on his account, he is documenting a series of videos of him getting penetrated and apparently receiving 75 anonymous loads in the course of 20 hours nonstop at a motel. Not a motel, telling guys, any guys to come over and drop a load in him. It has been trending and has brought interesting opinions and conversations about the individual. On one corner, Carlos writes, you have people praising him and defending him, while others have concerns and are stating that it is wrong and not what the gay community should be condoning. There's a lot of questions myself, and I'm sure others may have, such as, was this going too far? Wow. That's a lot there.
That
I
is
mean,
a
I was
lot.
thinking about this because I get a chance to read this ahead of time, and I had some conflicting thoughts on this initially. Is it wrong? No. If that's just a blanket statement, I don't think it's wrong. I think any fetish, I mean, wanting to have come and is hot. We, like, so many of us love that. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It got me thinking though, when you make something public and you're putting it out there for social media to 75 loans and counting, or whatever the case may be, that it becomes less about, I don't know, your fetish and more about the shock value.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, and I think I also wonder, because the only time I ever heard about something like this was through a video that had to do with chemsex.
Okay.
And it had to do, the reason the person was so wanting so many loads like this, it became almost robotic. It was because they were on crystal meth.
Yeah.
And that to me then is not a good thing, if that's, but that no signs of this and this thing. I don't know, Lincoln, what are your thoughts when you first heard this?
Well, first of all, the account's been suspended.
Oh, you looked it up?
Oh, it has.
I just looked it up and it's been suspended.
Oh my goodness! I
Oh,
want to see the
my
video.
goodness.
Dang it!
Okay, now we got up to the date info here. Okay. Yeah.
There is a happy medium here, though. You guys saw Dawson's porn movies back in the day, right? Dawson takes 20 load. Dawson. Look it up.
did not.
Okay.
Yeah,
Maybe.
Dawson, beautiful
Not
guy.
Dawson's Creek.
No,
I
not
was
Dawson's
like,
Creek.
Dawson from Dawson's Creek? Oh no!
I know.
No, it's more like Dawson's crack. So this is not a new thing. It doesn't have to be crystal meth induced to go
Correct.
down this road.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't. Putting it up on public, sure. Having it be a private account that you have to let people in to see it. Of course, that you don't want children to see that. It is what it is. It happens. You know, remember the old bug chaser bullshit that used to go on?
Yeah.
Sometimes I look around with this virus, with Corona, and I'm like, wow, it's like bug chasing all over again. People don't care about anyone else, and they're just out talking and chatting and screaming and yelling and no mask and blah, 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 blah. Wow, those are what you need to be part of this club? That's so weird to me. So again, life is lived on many levels. I hope everyone is okay. If that's your fetish, there's places to watch it. You know what I mean? But I don't think it's the gay community needs to be worried about putting this forward. Like, that's a little extreme to me.
What do you mean?
Like, didn't you say earlier, like, this isn't a good thing for the gay community to be putting forward? Like, I don't like phrases like that, because I don't think just because someone's taking 100 lows on Twitter, they don't have the power of the gay community. They have the power of opening a Twitter account, which is nothing, and themselves. And right now there is so much, this is such a moot point. It's so reductive to even say this, but people go online, they get 5,000 followers and they think they're fabulous. They're just a person. We're all just people. You know, like, I went to school.
This person's getting 75 loads. And
yay. Okay.
Maybe that's fabulosity for him.
Absolutely. And he probably didn't have enough love as a child, and hopefully he'll find it in the future. I don't know what to say.
I mean, come on. Yeah, the part about it, Cody, that is interesting to me, is it wrong? No, I don't think we have enough information to know. I mean, I don't think anything is wrong. He's not harming anybody. And those people that went and gave him those 75 loads, it sounds like everybody did it copacetically and in their choice. And the part about playing him, maybe there's a fetish, as I said at the top. I thought that could be an alarming point. But you know what? Maybe that's a fetish too. Part of sort of a voyeuristic thing.
It is.
He's getting something out of, maybe not in person, but social media-istically, voyeuristically putting it out there and getting his.
I could see that,
and that could be the whole thing too.
Just like anything.
I don't know.
Have you guys look next time you're in a porn mode? Google sketchy sex.
Okay.
It's all, the
yeah,
whole sketchy sex world. That's a
So
whole nother category. That's
it
and
is.
it's fantasy life and it's fabulous and it's wonderful. There is someone doing it. What they're going through is their own journey. You know what I
so
mean?
I
What are your thoughts,
I
Cody?
agree. And I don't want to sound like a hypocrite by saying, because I have watched those things before, but for me, it sounds like this is on the verge of being harmful to this person, to their physical and their mental well being. And so there's a fine line, like you said, Lincoln.
What
Everything in
part, Cody?
moderation.
What
The
part?
fact that he's having anonymous loads be and just calling anybody to put them in him. He needs a he. It sounds to me from what I glean from this story, he's trying to have a void filled in his life. So, but I
Yeah, it's a numbers game, and it's also a numbers game too. We just talked about injectable prep and how that's not even 100%. So you are now 75 timesing your outcome of maybe that there's going to be a couple ones that might not be covered by your prep. And if that's even what he's on or he even
syphilis is
cares
still a
about.
But
thing.
those are right. Those are
Exactly.
two separate things. All three of us know right now the MAL had a lot of that going on, and the cruise ship we were talking about has a lot of that going
He's going
on.
to be having a lot
It's
of that too.
great. It's a
Well,
It is
sexual
great.
fantasy. Some people, this is the way they blow off steam. They can be an executive at a huge company, and then this is how they blow off steam. There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm
And
not trying
we
to kink shame, but it almost
okay.
sounds like sex addiction to me,
I'm
honestly.
sure it is. Are you kidding? That's okay. There's
What about, Cody, the part about playing it out in social media?
I think that is him again trying to fill a void in his life, and by getting these the likes or the retweets or what have you, whatever you gain by posting on something like this on social
Yeah,
media,
you know what? You know what brings
the
to my
attention.
attention is, well, the thing that I was thinking about too was, it's almost like when you were younger and people would brag, like sex bragging rights,
Hmm.
and people like, I slept with him, or I slept with, or back in high school I slept with her, and everybody in the class knew who had slept with who, and it was kind of the bragging rights
Yeah.
quotient. And if you really just wanted to have a certain type of sex, and sex in general, aside from telling like your booze, your best friends and all that kind of stuff, what's the need to then share with the social media planet that 75 and counting, unless you were using it as, hey, come to this motel and I'm here waiting to go. It was more of a cry for attention,
Hmm.
which, like I said, could be a fetish in and of itself, but it does scream a little bit like you were saying, Cody, of, yeah.
Yeah.
what I
I
find
would.
interesting. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
What I find interesting is I see this is a very dramatic case, and I really enjoy the conversation. I see a
Hmm.
lot of cries for attention these days,
Yeah.
period. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be this dramatic. It's just like, oh my God, are we really that deprived of communing with other people because of the pandemic? Not really understanding where we are as a society or as a community or as individuals. I mean, there just seems to be a lot of thirsty, needy extremes going on. And I'm
And
not
that can be
judging them.
okay.
I witness them and I go,
I feel a
okay,
little bit attacked. No.
where did no.
No.
Well, I know I look at this is don't people say they look at social media for an hour and then they don't feel good about themselves?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
I look at that and I just see a lot of sadness and like I said, thirstiness. I don't see fabulousness. I just see everyone thinking they're now the star. I don't know. It's there's a bigger thing brewing, I think, going on. I
I
know
see
is
it.
going on.
I definitely
Yeah.
can see it.
Well, I hope that, Carlos, I hope you liked our weighing in on that one. And we've got to move on before we wrap up the show to Adam. Adam writes, "Hey, Tags, obviously I'm a huge fan. Not obviously, but we're glad you are
Yeah.
of your podcast. My name is Adam. I live in New York. I'm 27 and have been in a relationship with my partner, gay cis male 25, for 5 years. Before I met him, I identified as bisexual, but had only had penetrative sex with cis women. Of the women I had sex with, I was only able to stay hard and come with girlfriends I had real feelings for, but was never able to stay hard with strangers. After a year of being together, Benson and I decided to open the relationship up. After 4 years of trying it out with strangers, I continue to have the same issues I've always had. I can't stay hard with someone I don't know. Even when we have threesomes with someone who exclusively bottoms, I end up watching the two of them have a great time while I try to get hard again and forget coming. It's never happened.
Mm-hmm.
I've ruled out erectile dysfunction. I can obviously get and stay hard. Guilt, jealousy, or anxiety around STDs. He's on PrEP, so these are not concerns.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm just he writes. Maybe I'm just more emotionally sexual than physical.
Yeah.
And he asks, "Is that a thing?" Regardless, I
Definitely.
would love to grow out of this for good and enjoy sex with strangers because I feel like I'm missing out. He has a second part addendum to this, but I feel like we should just address this first part first
Okay.
before I get to the next part. Cody, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's definitely a thing. I'm a very emotionally sexual person as well. I can't get hard for the camera. I've documented that here before. And I think that for him, what I would recommend is that he maybe gets to know the person. That's worked for me before
Yes, that's what I
beforehand.
was going to suggest too.
Yeah, sit down, have a drink, and then move things to the bedroom and just be patient with yourself. The more pressure that you put on yourself, the harder, pun intended, but not intended, it will be to actually get an erection.
A little candlelight, some R&B music or whatever floats your boat, and a cocktail if you're imbibing or whatever you're imbibing can
Yeah.
make a whole evening with somebody new. I've always felt the same way too about hookups. It's why I tend to meet most of my hookups when I'm out in the bar situation because I can have a conversation and really work that sexual energy and chemical reaction that happens when you meet somebody in real life that you don't get on the apps. Even when some of my most successful hookups on the apps have been with going over to their place or having them come over here and sitting down, lights are dimmed, having a cocktail, talking a bit
It's
to
so
kind of
nice.
just get into it and see this sort of wham bam thing. I can have those moments in a sex club for sure, but if it's like with my partner or something like that, I would recommend the same thing too. Get into the mood and tell your partner that make what you shared with us, Adam. Make sure your partner knows this because it sounds like you two have been going strong for a very long time, and he's going to want to make this work for you. I could probably imagine, Adam, that your partner really wants you to participate in this just as much as he is, and he's going to want to, like the triad thing or the working in the threes, Lincoln, he's going to want to make this work for you. And the more you can communicate on how it's not just working wham bam like it does for the partner, I think there needs to be a little foreplay and a little that nurturing time that hopefully can get him into the mix, because it sounds like, Adam, you want this, and where there's a will there is a way. Lincoln, what are your thoughts on this?
I agree with everything you guys said, but for 180 degrees away from it, I would just accept who you are in the situation and that you're doing what you're doing. I have been in like 4 ways where one of the guys is like, yeah, I don't really get hard. I'm just having a good time. Or they say, I've been in situations where someone bottoms the whole time and they never want to come. It's
Mm.
coming is not the goal. So I would just take a breath and re-examine what your goals are. Is it that you truly want to get hard and come? Or are you okay with the fact that, no, I don't really need to come? My partner's having a great time. I am stimulated beyond control. If I get hard, I do. If I don't, I don't. Like who is setting up that as the beginning, middle, and end of what has to happen? If it's something you really want to happen, I get it. But I'm just saying, accept you for where you are instead of always having this ideal of what this situation should look like and what you should participate in it with. Does that make
Mm.
sense?
It does,
Totally.
and I also like that
Okay, cool.
I like that he shared too his past feelings when he was with a cisgender woman, and how it he parlayed that. I love that you're doing the work to kind of
Yeah.
look at your history, and that's sometimes a scary thing to do. And I think that can lead to some of the answers. It sounds like this is something you may want, and I also think if you didn't say this in there, but if you can really have an open communication with your partner on
Yep.
this, on goals,
That's
goals that
the
you
key.
want to have.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree
Because
with
if
that
you're
too.
doing it because you think your partner wants you to be hard the whole time, or wants you to come, or wants you, that he might not even think that. The other person might not even think that. So that communication's definitely the key.
Lastly, Adam writes, also, after my partner and I met in 2016, we realized that neither of us had bottomed or planned to. While I have learned to love bottoming for him, surprise, he writes, he he has only bottomed for me twice and has never enjoyed it. Ideally, we'd be versatile. Obviously not a deal breaker for me, but do you have any advice on getting him to open up, literally? Have any of you ever identified as one and learned to like the other? Any help is appreciated. I'm just going to go right to you, Cody, because I know. What are
Okay.
your thoughts on this?
How to
Yeah,
get a top
because
to bottom. I think I could teach some classes
how
on
in
that.
5 easy steps.
I definitely recommend playing around back there some. That when you stimulate that area, it just opens up all the more. It opens up like a beautiful flower, and
Ooh.
and a little bit of dirty talk too. Like the anticipation really, really helps to get. And then it's not a surprise when you're actually in the moment of actually insertion. So I think talking to your partner about about getting them to anticipate you actually entering them, and and toys as well. Maybe play with toys around that area, and just go to town and make sure that you are stimulating it, and things will open up.
Literally. Yeah, I have to agree with you that after, Adam, kudos to you for this relationship, 4 years in. And it sounds, I loved, you seem so open. I just got that just from reading you writing in, and I really appreciate that and commend you for that. I would just say the same thing too. Open up to your partner, and in the communication area, make this perhaps this great time as we talk about January to talk about goals for the new year. And some of them really need to be relationship goals and where we are at now. And if this is important to you, as Cody suggested, the the bottoming, you have to start, as Dr. Goldstein always says, or ask doctor of choice, that you have to start small. And it could be with the toys, it could be when you're not having somebody over in the open relationship department, it could be just a night of you two and we're just going to play with this. But there's so many intro ass toys that can make it a lot of fun. And it sounds like 4 years in, you guys know each other so intimately that you can make it really fun. And I guarantee if you do it right, those that say they don't like it, it's not going to hurt. The prostate is something that is enjoyable, and he can enjoy it on some level, and I think you could get there, but it has to be communicated and it has to be a goal that's set forth. Lincoln, what are your thoughts on this?
I agree. I sound like I'm answering the other question. I agree. I just wouldn't rush it. I would say, hey, in the next 3 weeks, I'm going to top you. But between now and then, maybe one night is just
That sounds
massage.
Ooh.
rushed. Oh, that sounds rushed to me.
Or
Set
within
I was
goals. I
thinking
love
more
it.
like 6. Yeah.
fine, 6 months. But maybe one night is just a massage. Maybe one night is just a little play, and then you bottom again. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like I just don't know if there's that much of a rush to do it all in with toys and with all that. Because if it's not physical, maybe there's something mental there of why he doesn't
Yeah.
enjoy it. It's not about a toy or things opening up because they're naturally supposed to. Maybe mentally, that is something that he's going to think is going to hurt. And you're not going to get over that if you at all try and rush or don't let him take the time to be open to it.
I love it. I hope that helps, Adam. And if you got a sex conundrum or want some relationship advice from us, we love giving solicited advice. Go ahead and DM us at TAGSPodcast on Instagram, or feel free to email us, and you can find that on TAGSPodcast.com. Lastly, we were just talking about outdoor sex, and if you are a little like, I don't know if I should be peeing on this dune, you can enjoy, if you're coming to New York City, a brand new exhibition that back in the 70s and early 80s, the riverside western edge of Manhattan was far less developed than it is today. Infamously, many gay men went to the abandoned piers near Christopher Street looking for sex as a place to hang out and sunbathe during the summer months. Fences around the piers kept most people out. However, the flimsy barricades were pretty easy to transverse if one wanted to do so. And there's a brand new photographer, or there's a photographer who's been around, Stanley Steller, and an exhibition of his pure photos arrives at the Cap Cap Gallery in New York this weekend. And by seeing some of these photos, it's really going to be a great exhibition, which
Nice.
starts this week and goes through early February. I will post this on Tags Podcast, but could be a great thing if you're visiting New York City. Check this out. I definitely want to check it out.
I was going to say, or if you live here.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's cool.
New York audience. And thanks so much, guys. This has been so much fun. Thanks for playing as always. We are celebrating in 2 weeks our 5-year anniversary of Tags Podcast, and I'm hoping to do a live virtual with all hosts. I'll check in with you all in a minute.
Yay,
but yeah,
fun.
So check in for that. You can always follow my host. Follow Lincoln at his Protein Bakery, at Protein Bakery on Instagram, or at Mad Lincoln on Instagram. Follow Cody. He's a life coach at KMD Coaching, or his personal account, Mr. Maurice. As always, be well, and in the meantime, continue having hot gay sex.
Yes.
Yes.